I'm Erik Linask here in the TMC newsroom. We are in San Jose, California this week, and I'm talking on today's program with Louie. Doug is from Smith Micro Software. Doug, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
How about, can you give me sort of an update on some of the latest activities from Smith Micro?
Great. Well, Smith Micro provides solutions for enterprise IT to deal with, one, the consumerization that's happening with all the iPhones and Androids coming in, but as well as addressing the challenge and convergence of connectivity coming into play there. Really, the challenges IT has right now with the consumerization is really how do you secure those iPhones and Androids and tablet devices coming into the enterprise? The big challenge there is, there's about 50 competitors that can all provide lock and wipe capabilities, but what about the connectivity part of that? And that's where Smith Micro's legacy in connectivity comes to play. Most people who have a laptop with a 3G air card in there or a dongle probably don't realize they're already running Smith Micro software. Whether you're going through AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, or Sprint, that's our software that's powering that connection to the 3G interface and allowing you to access the internet. And that, as we go from 3G to 4G, and also take and bear in mind the rising prevalence of mobile hotspots, enterprise IT is really worried about how do you connect and manage and secure all these different access points, especially when it comes to providing data down to your personal smartphones. As executives come in and ask for tablets to be provisioned, how do they deal with that? And that's where the Smith Micro solution is going to come in.
So, obviously, like you said, there are a whole bunch of different companies out there in the mobile device management space. Your differentiator is your legacy and connectivity. How does that help you with the mobile device management?
It's a great question. Well, one, the software developed for connectivity management is carrier grade. I mean, our software has been deployed out to millions of users concurrently, whether it's through AT&T or Verizon. The amount of smartphones that are out there running and access points to our software has already been tested and pounded at the carrier level. So as we move to enterprise, the stability and functionality of our software has already been proven and scales at that level. The connectivity is really there to address the data tsunami that's going to come. As we move from 3G to 4G, one, the amount of data traffic that's going to pass through and be available and accessible on your handheld devices is just going to increase tenfold. Also, what most people are just starting to think about now is the advent of mobile hotspots. You could walk into a Starbucks, your phone is going to turn into a hotspot, and anybody who can go ahead and Google on YouTube how to hack into a hotspot, and you'll find that there's very little security on those hotspots, even on your home networks. People have a hard time putting passwords around there. So enterprise IT really wants to be able to put security wrappers around how their employees are accessing data while they're on the road, or even when you're roaming from building to building. You need to be able to secure that environment and provide IT visibility into what's happening with all their employees and how that data is flowing in the network.
Couldn't you just restrict how the application or what applications can be put onto those devices?
Well, sure, of course. Blacklisting and whitelisting of applications is already a feature within our device management suite. But as anybody knows, I mean, with these devices, you've got employees just once they have connectivity to the internet, they're accessing just about anything out there or downloading anything in there. And you want to be ahead of that fact. But you also don't want to restrict every single access point for the employees. When an executive comes down and says, make my iPad work, even though you don't have a policy that says, well, no iPads, it's not going to work. I mean, people are finding ways to get around the system. It's so easy to find workarounds to get into the network these days that without having a solution out there to address this is become quite a challenge for IT.
So you mentioned the iPad. Is there one or are there several mobile operating systems or types of devices that are more difficult to manage?
Obviously, yeah, most of the solutions out there, for instance, our solution, we already manage iOS devices, Android, and Symbian devices. We are working on a Windows 7 application as that's starting to roll out now. For Smith Micro, our device management platform is based on the Open Mobile Alliance device management standards. So that's going to help us at least work under the standardized platform and really provide a similar set of features across devices. Obviously, iOS is separate out of that, but we're also part of that developer group, so we have access to the Apple controls as well. So they're very similar in functionality. As long as you're within those standards, that provides you at least a level playing field of what functionality enterprises are looking for.
So what happens for organizations who also have BlackBerries deployed?
That's a good question. Concurrently, BlackBerry, obviously, we've seen the decline in BlackBerry devices being adopted. There's no doubt they're going to still continue to use those servers going forward, but at the same time, this rush influx of iOS and Android devices is, I think, in the near term going to prompt IT departments to actually run dual solutions. We are looking at ways to actually integrate BlackBerry into our solution, but it remains to be seen where, how IT is going to manage that. I think right now they don't have a choice but to find a solution for the iOS and Android devices because there's just too much pressure. They can't stop that wave from happening.
Fair enough. Doug, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for being on our program.
You bet.